Hello, and welcome to the 68th in an unknown number of podcasts. If you've been listening to Desert Island Discs, you'll know that members of staff have been talking about the books that they would want to take with them to read whilst they were there. And in some cases, they've given some really good book reviews, so that if you were looking for your next read, because you've just finished a book, then there were some ready suggestions for you to take up. Now, I have a number of books on my bedside table, but I do want to talk about a book that happens to be on my coffee table. The book is called Letter to My Younger Self, and it's a collection of all of the letters that have been published over time in The Big Issue. Now, it's not a book that I have read all the way through from start to finish. Rather, it's a book that I have dipped into. It's a book that from time to time I might be interested in finding out what a particular person had written, or because it's categorized in certain themes, I might look for something just for some inspiration. And so it is with today's podcast. Given that Miss Hilditch was talking about Bear Grylls, I happened to note that Bear Grylls appears on the front cover of this book, and therefore wondered what it is that he would write. And so what follows is an extract of his letter to his younger self. He writes, "I would tell my younger self not to fear failure. I went to Eton, and like lots of schools, it was a bit of a survival exercise, especially if you weren't naturally sporty or super clever. And I was neither. It took me some time to gain any confidence. So many kids around me, and I was the same, were terrified of doing anything different, in the class or on the sports field. We never took risks. But that's the opposite of life, where you have to forge your own path, embrace risk, and prepare to get things wrong. By the time I joined the military, I had the confidence to do things my own way. After school, I joined the army as a private rather than as an officer. All my school friends who joined went in as officers, but I wanted to go in at the other end. It looked more fun. I've never been very good at drinks parties or that side of things. I wanted to be muddy and up a mountain. If I met the teenage Bear now, I think I'd see a shy young man trying to figure himself out. I used to try to wear trendy clothes and spike my hair. If I went back to talk to that boy, I'd say, "That's all just window dressing, and you're not very good at it anyway. Don't worry about that side of things. Just love what you do and keep smiling. And don't worry if you don't want to go to university. School is such a small part of life." My dad used to say, "Don't peak at school, or you'll mess up the rest of your life." I think the thing about my life that would really surprise my younger self would be my work encouraging young Marines, handing out the green berets to them when they pass out. I remember trying out for the Royal Marines when I was 16 and turning up at the train station, very nervous with my little bag, surrounded by all these big burly guys. I did eventually pass, though when I finally left school, I didn't take it up, and I joined the army instead. But if you told me then that I'd go back one day as a colonel and stand on the parade square where I did press-ups in the mud when I was 16 and encouraged the young Marines, I could never have called that. But I was there doing it last week and really felt that my life had come full circle. I definitely felt my dad smiling down on me. The younger me wouldn't have understood the TV personality thing. Fame was not a goal. I didn't even watch TV. If someone told me I'd be involved in that, I'd have said, "Really? It doesn't sound very fun, and it doesn't sound in line with the values you have." The public recognition is the downside. But we do actually have lots of fun exploring the most incredible wildernesses. And if someone had told me when I was a Boy Scout that one day I'd be Chief Scout, I'd definitely have said, "You've got to be joking." I was a terrible scout who didn't get many badges at all. If I wanted to impress the teenage bear, I'd tell him about climbing Everest. I really aspired to do that when I was young. It was a dream of mine. I'd warn him to brace himself for the pain of going through SAS selection. That was a long 2-year road, and I failed selection the first time. If I'd known in advance how hard that was going to be, I would have questioned embarking on it. But once you're in, you're in. I know Ranulph Fiennes well, and he always talks about the importance of preparation. I come from a slightly different place. For me, the adventure begins when things start to go wrong. I'm not one of those meticulous people who loves the preparation and the planning. A lot of the great adventurers are, but I like having to work things out as I go, improvising and being caught out. If I could go back and relive any time again, it would be tempting to go for the summit of Everest, or the moment I passed SAS selection the same day as my best buddy, or some of the times climbing when I was with my dad as a kid. But in the end, I think I'd go for a time on our family hideaway, on a little island we own in North Wales. It's just a 20-acre place with no electricity and no communication. Those are precious, precious times. Picnics, lots of laughs, messing around on the rocks, and swimming. Just a family having fun. No crocodiles or snakes. For a short letter that he's written to his younger self, there's much to take away from his words. Whether it's about teenage awkwardness, his words on failure or taking risks, or about fitting in, or about his words on achievements, which have been many and varied, there's lots to consider. Now, the one thing that strikes me is how he described trying to fit in wearing trendy clothes and spiking up his hair were, to the older Bear Grylls looking back, merely window dressing, and therefore not that important at all. And over the period of time that he's had to reflect on that, he's come to that conclusion. So I wonder how many of you during lockdown have taken an opportunity to perhaps reflect back and to think about the things which now are more important than you thought they were, or even the things that you thought were important before lockdown, now seemingly not so at all. So, there we have it. Perhaps some things and words for us to just think about. To what extent have we taken time to reflect, and to what extent have we thought about those things which truly are more important now? Until tomorrow, as ever, be kind, take care, and stay safe.